family. Welcome back to ParentingU. We're here to help you navigate this amazing journey we call parenting. Today's episode is all for parents who are starting their journey of expecting a baby, and I'm welcoming Evie Robison, who is a registered nurse and pregnancy navigator, to talk all things about getting ready for baby. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do? What is a pregnancy navigator?
Well, that's a great question. So a pregnancy navigator I am a registered nurse by trade.
Okay.
And what I do specifically is I meet with parents during their pregnancy and we pre-register. We talk about things that can happen during labor. We talk about what they need to bring to the hospital, when to start packing those things, when to pick a pediatrician. I give them a tour of the hospital, and then a contact number to call me. So if they have questions like, is this normal? Should I call the doctor? And so it's just a touch point and a resource person for that family.
So you kind of walk alongside the mom and the dad.
Absolutely.
Through the journey. I love that because not everybody nobody knows what's going on. And so having somebody to help them along is crucial.
It's like, a human, what to expect when you're expecting.
Oh, man. I would have called you a lot if I knew you. Well, let's get to some of the basics. So you mentioned pre-registration and a lot of things, but what can mom expect as she prepares for delivery? What are the things that she might need to prepare for? What are some of the resources that might be available to her?
Well, at Our Lady of Lourdes Women and Children's Hospital, we offer free prenatal classes throughout the pregnancy, so I can help mom navigate which classes would be best for her. Sometimes it's all of them. We have a baby basics, so we have prep for childbirth, we have breastfeeding, infant CPR. So all of those things, kind of tie into the pregnancy and the mom. We have a natural childbirth that's offered. So it's just kind of whatever fits that mom's profile. The other thing to prepare is like when to put the car seat in. You don't want to do that the week that your baby's due. We want that done because they're all so different and so difficult to maneuver. So you want to be comfortable being able to take that car seat in and out of your car. So we suggest around 33 weeks to get that car seat installed in your car, know how to get it in and out. And then we talk about pediatricians, when to choose them. We really encourage moms to choose around the third trimester of her pregnancy, so the 7th month. They can meet with that pediatrician before the baby is born. They can ask questions, talk about things. And then another really important thing, an exciting thing that I do with moms is birth plans. On Our Lady of Lourdes website, we have a downloadable version of a birth plan. You can have it as specific and detailed as you want, or just generic, like I want an epidural and then I want skin to skin and hold my baby. So it's completely up to you. But the important thing is, what I want you to do is go over that. We fill it out together and then bring it back to your doctor. So your doctor can go over it with you and sign off on it, and then come think about things that if this doesn't go your way, we have to talk about, those scenarios.
Well, that was going to be my question is, What happens if it doesn't go to plan? Because I know a lot of moms.
Absolutely. And that's, and so I think it's important to have those discussions to anticipate that not everything does go as planned. My best friend in the world had all the intentions of having a natural childbirth, and she's had to have 3 C-sections. It's just the way that her body worked. But at the end of the day, and I tell every mom this, as long as you end up with a healthy baby, it doesn't matter how it happens, but it can happen. So we do go through those scenarios of why you might need a C-section, why you might need to be induced, why you might need Pitocin. So things like that, the difference between induction and augmentation of labor.
What are some of the most frequently asked questions you get from moms?
Number one is, how many people can be in the room?
Okay.
Which the answer is 2 right now. Those things have changed. I mean, we've all tried to navigate through the last 2 years of COVID. So right now, luckily, you can have 2 people with you and 2 in the waiting room, and they can switch out.
Okay.
So that's an exciting thing. And then the other question is, what do I pack? What do I bring? So number one, I always say a phone charger. Crucial phone charger. And so that's important. Blanket, pillow, comfort items, toiletries, things like that. If you want music, so like maybe a Bluetooth speaker, things like that, essential oils, whatever's going to make you the most comfortable. My same best friend, the one who tried the natural labor, she labored her first with watching Friends throughout the whole.
She sounds like my kind of girl.
Yes, she is. She's awesome. So, and so it's whatever it is. And I tell moms, like, have your iPad charged, have Netflix, whatever it is. If you can download movies, a book, music, whatever it is, it's just going to distract you until you can no longer be distracted.
Got it. That's a really good list. What other things do mom and dad need to prepare for other than packing a bag? So we talked a little bit about the car seat. We talked about hospital bag. What else do we need to kind of get in line? Picking a pediatrician? Anything else?
I think discussing your preferences with your OBGYN is important, because that way, it's a partnership. They know what your wishes are, and then they can also speak for you with things, and then also they can speak to your labor nurses, and you're all a team, and that way we all work together so we can get things done as smoothly as possible. We talk about breastfeeding early on for feeding preferences. We do have lactation support. We do encourage the first hour of skin to skin and to latch that baby during that first hour. So I think all those things, that way you can kind of envision and start doing your own research. That's the beauty of today is there's so much information out there, but I can also help them filter through the things of, hey, I really recommend this website to research and things like that. Because
I know it can be so overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And you can kind of feel alone.
Right.
You don't know where to turn. You don't know.
Right.
Your mom may be saying something. Your aunt may say something different. Your mother-in-law might say something different.
Every day I encounter that, And so a lot of what I do is I help moms to advocate for themselves and for their wishes, and, kind of help them to filter out all the opinions, and then we talk one-on-one about, so this is what evidence-based is, this is what we recommend, and we go through those things, and I take the time with them, and it is one-on-one, and then they can call me back afterwards and say, okay, I've made this decision, and then I can update it in their chart.
Okay, so we've done all this prep work. We have a pediatrician, we have a car seat, we have a birth plan, we have a bag packed.
Yes.
How do I know if I'm in labor, what to do?
Right.
Walk us through that process.
Sure. So, a lot of women experience what's called Braxton Hicks, which are your irregular contractions, which you're not going to be dilating during that time. But how do you know that, right?
Right. We're not checking.
Yeah, you have no idea, because guess what? They still feel like contractions because they're practice contractions. So the thing about contractions is they are going to progress to get closer together and stronger.
Okay.
No matter what you do comfort measure wise. So we want you to follow a 5-1-1 rule.
Okay.
When your contractions are 5 minutes apart, they're lasting for 1 minute, and this pattern has followed just like that for 1 hour.
Okay.
5-1-1. So 5 minutes apart, 1 minute long, duration 1 hour.
Okay.
Come to the hospital.
Okay.
Especially, if that pattern's unchanged, so those contractions are likely building up, getting stronger, and hopefully you're dilating at that point. Now, there's no harm in coming to the hospital, getting in triage, and we put you on the monitor, we check you, and we're able to maybe hydrate you, because sometimes dehydration can cause you to have contractions. So sometimes we can rule it out at that point and send you home. With my last baby, I was sent home 2 times.
I was going to say, we won't talk about how many times I went to the hospital thinking I was in labor.
It's totally okay.
But only dehydrated.
Same.
I have summer babies.
I have 2 August babies.
Yes.
I get you. So
it's hard.
But I tell every mom, it's better safe than sorry.
That's right.
But obviously, if your water breaks,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big gush of water like you would see on Grey's Anatomy. It truly can be trickles, The other important rule is, if you think your water has broken, and if it has a smell to it, or if it has a color to it, you want to note the time that it broke and what color, and if it has an odor. And the reason for that is because a lot of times babies will have their first poop.
Yeah.
It's called meconium inside of you. And so we do take extra precautions during those births where we have the NICU in there and a respiratory therapist. And that's just to make sure that baby didn't ingest any of that during labor.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, you know, we want it to be, it's typically clear, straw colored and odorless. So if you think your water breaks, come to the hospital.
Okay.
Contracting, come to the hospital. So what happens is you come in, you've already pre-registered.
Yes. We've checked that off.
We've checked that off. So we're going to put you on the monitor. We're going to check you, see how dilated you are. We're going to put an IV in you, get blood work at that time, get another history and physical just because things change, you know, just kind of make sure everything's the same, whether medication and things like that.
Okay.
And then once you're ready for an epidural, then tell your nurse. Then we're going to give you what's called a bolus of IV fluids, and that's just to help to prevent a big drop in blood pressure. That can happen sometimes with epidurals, so that helps to prevent that. And then our anesthesiologist comes in, numbs your back. That's always asked. Like, it's, how big is the needle? Is it going to hurt? You know, so they do give you lidocaine. They numb it, and then you know, you're all set.
Yeah.
We have peanut balls. We have birthing balls for all moms, and we're able to use those things to help you dilate in the bed and help you be comfortable so you can rest while your body is making changes and dilating, even with an epidural.
And if you choose not to have an epidural, you've got all the resources to support.
Absolutely.
That path
We
as
do.
well.
We have the, you know, same thing, birthing balls, peanut balls. And so, and both of them are really good for childbirth to help you to progress whether you have an epidural or not.
Okay, so tell me about some of the top tips for mom and dad to prepare for delivery.
Okay. So bags are packed. And we do encourage you to have your car seat installed by 32 weeks, but you want to keep the base of the car seat that's installed. We recommend that you only put the car seat part where the baby's going to sit whenever you're coming for the delivery. There's a reason behind that is if you were to get in a car accident, then you have to get a new car seat. Every time you get in an accident, unfortunately. So it's just, you know, for safety measures. However, practice when your car is parked in your house, you know, how to get that car seat in and out, because they're all a little bit different and tricky. So you can be comfortable with it whenever you do come to drive in to take mama and baby home.
Got it. Okay, so packed bag, car seat. What else?
Pre-registration.
Okay.
So, I pre-register moms. I do everything except the insurance portion. So they come to me, we get everything down, you know, if you want to tell me the name of your baby, we put that in your chart, you know, just a basic history, physical, things like that. So we have your encounter. Number one, it's going to save you time if you come in full labor. You're not going to have somebody coming in and asking you, how many pregnancies is this? How many, you know, are you allergic to anything?
So it really saves you time.
It saves you a ton of time. And so, and what I'll do is I'll walk you downstairs, and then you can get with our registration team and then give your insurance and all of those things and kind of make everything up to date. So you come in full labor, all they'll have to do is everything the same? So it'll save you a bunch of time.
How easy is that? Okay. So I've heard about strep B and this test that is done right before you deliver. Tell me about that.
So group strep B is a virus that moms can have. You may never know that you have it. There's no outward signs of the infection. But if you are positive for it, there's a precaution that we take by giving you an antibiotic 24 hours before the baby is born. It's just to prevent anything from getting to baby. And then we'll give you another dose after baby's born.
Is it pretty common?
It's very common.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we talked a lot about the mom who's going to be in labor and giving birth. What about dad or the partner or whoever's in that support role? How can they help prepare?
And oftentimes they get kind of left out. So I love to meet with the family. I love to meet mom and her support person so I can talk to that support person about, you know, one thing is looking at whatever mom's like frustration signs are, or whenever she's just had enough. You know, there's little signs like if it's her jaw's clenched or she's white knuckling to, you know, give her a diversion or try to refocus her, because that happens a lot of times. And that's whenever like they just can't take it anymore. She's trying to internalize her pain. So we practice those things. So tell me what's her like biggest frustration. How do you know that she's really angry? And so it opens that support person up, and then it kind of becomes a joke, but they feel comfortable with saying, oh, she'll clench her fist or her shoulders go up like this. So then we talk about it and say, when you notice that, here's where your cue is.
I love
so
that.
Go in and let's refocus her. Let's get a cool damp cloth, a washcloth to put on her neck, put on her forehead. Ice chips are her best friend. And things like that. Or say, hey, do you want to watch that Netflix movie? Do you want to watch Friends? Do you want aromatherapy or music? Anything to just be a part of her team, because you are a part of the team, or press the call bell for her, because maybe she just needs her nurse to help her change positions.
I think that's so important because, again, we talked about sometimes you can feel alone, and if you haven't verbalized what is going on, this person can be on the lookout for those
and it can
things.
be overwhelming for that person, because they're like, I don't know, and it just looks like they're in pain. If mom's in pain, or it looks overwhelming for both, and so I think anticipating those things and talking about those things early on, then it empowers the support person as well to say, oh, no, she's hurting, I can tell, or or let's change her positions, to be her advocate.
So other than helping mom during labor and kind of being on the watch out for signs of distress, things like that, how else can the partner be involved in the labor and delivery?
So one of the biggest ways is the doctor will offer dad or her support person to cut the cord.
Okay.
Now it's clamped on two sides, so it's just literally cutting it in the middle, and it's up to that support person. There's no right or wrong, but if they do want to cut the cord, then that's always offered. And it's just kind of fun. It's just cutting the cord to get that baby onto mom's chest.
Is there anything else that you want to share with moms who are preparing for this really big time in their life?
It's a huge time. Embrace the journey. Be flexible. We can do plans and plans and plans, but babies are going to do what babies want.
We need to learn that pretty quickly early on in motherhood.
Yes. And so I think that anticipating those things that may not go as planned and knowing them and having them in the back of your mind will also help your anxiety. But the biggest thing is just to help to prepare you for becoming a family and bringing it all full circle.
Okay, baby's here.
Yes.
What to expect that first day, maybe 2 days of after you deliver?
So it's love, it's excitement, it's also, there's postpartum care that goes into it. We are going to talk about bleeding, what to expect, how much is too much. We're going to talk about rubbing on your tummy to get blood clots out, to get your uterus to start contracting back to its pre-pregnant size. We're going to talk about breastfeeding. We're going to talk about that all modesty is going to go out the door. So, all of those things happen. Babies, they really, they're going to cry. They want to be held. They want to be loved. You cannot spoil them by holding them. So those are all the things. The pediatrician's going to come in. They're going to do an assessment in the room with your baby and with you there. Your nursery nurse is going to come in and do an assessment with you there. They do a prick of blood. They look at their blood sugar. They're going to give them a shot of vitamin K. That helps to start clotting their blood. They do erythromycin in their eyes to prevent any congenital eye infections. And then the first hepatitis B vaccine. But the
right
nursery,
there in the hospital.
Right there in the room with you in the hospital. Even if they cry a little bit, it really doesn't hurt. They don't remember. Another thing is, if it's a boy and you do choose to have him circumcised, your pediatrician typically does that before your discharge. So that is one of the things that they'll do the day of discharge. They'll take him, they'll do the circumcision, bring him right back to you, and then typically what they need is love, and if you're breastfeeding, we want them to, to latch. Sometimes that'll comfort them. Bottle feeding, same thing, but just being held and loved and close to them is usually the best medicine.
What about moms who may be considered high risk? There's all sorts of things that their doctor may be on the watch out for, but what can they do to calm themselves, calm their anxiety? But then what can they also expect if they're going into labor early or have some complications?
So I actually meet with a lot of our high-risk population on a weekly basis, and that is to anticipate the things that will happen that may not be the ordinary, where they may deliver early, there may be something wrong with their baby, it could be mom's blood pressure's out of control. So just to kind of get mom to those right resources, a lot of times if we know that baby's going to go to our NICU, I set up a meeting with the NICU team with a doctor, respiratory therapist, social worker, and nurse. So that way mom can ask the NICU all the questions of what NICU life is going to look like, because it is going to look a little bit different than our typical outcomes or our typical deliveries. And so I find that it really helps mom and her support person to have those conversations, come up with a list of questions regarding NICU for whatever the reason is that she's high risk. And babies go to NICU for lots of different reasons. It could be that when they come out, they're not breathing the way that they're supposed to. It could be that baby has a diagnosis that is going to require a surgery or just a NICU stay because they're going to be born early. So I find that it alleviates a lot of anxiety because they're going to meet that team beforehand, because it's kind of a coordinated chaos if we know of a NICU delivery, because NICU's there, respiratory's there, your gynecologist is there, NICU team, nurses and everything, and then labor nurses. They all have a purpose and they're all moving together and working together, but it can be overwhelming. So in order to get that off of mom's chest, to know that all of that movement and all these faces are here for a reason, it's one of the things I find that's very valuable in what I do in order to hold that mom's hand and help her during that journey.
Well, this is kind of a personal question because it's something that I went through. I had a birth plan. I was ready to go. I had to be induced, and it resulted in a C-section. And that can be a really scary experience.
Absolutely.
Talk me through what moms can do, what partners can do, if that is a possibility or a known factor. What happens, and how can we go in with the best knowledge we have?
That's a great question. So dad or your support person is just as needed as in a vaginal birth. Sometimes even more, because it's surgery, you know. So what we do to prepare the support person is we get them dressed out for surgery while the anesthesiologist is getting the spinal in. And so our nurses try to stick with that support person to kind of talk them through what's going on. And then once the room is ready, we bring support person in. We have a stool so they can sit down at the head of mom, and they can still see everything, hold her hand, because that's not sterile, so we have that out ready for her. And usually our anesthesiologist is at the other side at the head of the bed. And so they're awesome about talking our support people and our moms through what's going on. And most of the time we still can bring baby right to mom's chest. It just depends on the reason that you're having the C-section. But we try to get baby there as quickly as possible. And we also encourage dad to have that phone ready to take as many pictures as he wants.
Going into pregnancy and labor and delivery, there's a lot of things you can think about and get scared about. And I don't want to bring any scary things into anyone's minds, but talking about it just prepares you. And I remember, you're not prepared to, you are separated from your partner for a minute as they take you back. And they're getting dressed and you're kind of in there. And I remember talking to the anesthesiologist because I was like, I need somebody to say something to me right now or I am going to lose it. But then I remember them bringing my husband in and he had to stare down at the white line. That they don't, because it might make some queasy or it might be just kind of overwhelming. What I say all that to say, the team is there to help mom through it, dad through it.
We're all a team,
you need something, you can say it.
Please, we encourage them to say it. And we do try to get them, so they don't touch the sterile field and they go straight to where mom is, and then they can start talking to her and being a comfort for one another, because they both need the comfort at that point.
Well, thank you for walking us through. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you again for joining us, Evie. I think this was really informational, and I loved everything that you shared for us. And I hope that everyone who was with us today got some good information, some good prep work done, and are just ready for delivery. We've got a lot of other resources about this topic. We have an entire episode about picking a pediatrician. We have an entire episode about breastfeeding. We have an entire episode about NICU stays. So we've got a lot of stuff ready for you to help you plan for your delivery. So thank you again. I'm Stephanie, and thank you for joining us on ParentingU, where we are here with you every step of the way on this amazing journey we call parenting.